I'm Max Brantley. It's Tuesday, November 25th, and this is the Arkansas Times reporting on news in Arkansas. The big news today, I think, is not in Arkansas. It's still in Ferguson, although it has ripples that have come down here. Of course, the announcement was made last night that there would not be an indictment of a Ferguson, Missouri police officer in the fatal shooting of Michael Brown. That set off the expected violent reaction. There have been fires and arrests and perhaps one shooting. It's triggered demonstrations around the country, and it's brought to the surface really strong feelings about racial divisions in America and police-citizen relationships in America, not always based simply on race. In Little Rock tonight, there's going to be a vigil at the state capitol described to be peaceful and brief and prayerful to show solidarity with people who feel they've been aggrieved by this decision. I noticed the Little Rock Police Department last night chose, curiously I thought, to issue a statement shortly after the decision was announced that said they would, quote, allow, unquote, peaceful demonstrations, but would not tolerate breaking of the law. I thought this belabored the obvious in a somewhat condescending way. Of course, I would hope the Little Rock Police would allow people to exercise their constitutional rights to assemble and speak, and that they wouldn't tolerate violence and breaking of the law. I think we've seen some lack of respect for constitutional rights by police in Little Rock and how they treated criminal suspects. And it didn't send a good message. It sends a kind of authoritarian signal that has people bristling all over the country about police. And again, as I say, not strictly on racial grounds. Today is an election day in Arkansas. It's going to be lightly contested, but there are a handful of runoff races in municipal elections, two of particular interest. Bryant, the booming suburban city near Little Rock, is going to have a runoff for mayor. This pits Jill Dabbs, who ran 4 years ago for the first time as Jill Republican Dabbs, even though it's a nonpartisan office, and has set off a round of controversy since for her fairly aggressive style of governance. She faces a former city fire chief, Randy Cox, in what promises to be a pretty interesting election. In Fayetteville, there's a runoff for a city council seat between Adela Gray, a progressive member of the council with a long, good record, who happens to have been a voter in favor of the controversial Fayetteville Civil Rights Ordinance. She's facing a Fayetteville newcomer who's written some very controversial online publications. He's a Tea Party member, and he's a strong opponent of the Civil Rights Ordinance. This might be a tell to a certain degree on where voters will be heading December 9th when they vote on the referendum on that ordinance. Another piece of political action in Little Rock tonight is that the city board will see if it can get the votes to adopt an emergency clause that will allow Uber, the car sharing service, to operate in Little Rock. This comes amid still further concerns nationwide about whether there's adequate insurance for Uber drivers, particularly when they're driving on their own and not on company business. Some major insurers say that they won't cover them in those circumstances. The state political transition continues. We confirmed what I indicated yesterday would happen. Joe Thompson won't be staying on as Surgeon General. Asa Hutchinson has other plans. He hasn't yet said what they are. He's announced some further additional staff members. There's a lot of talk about whether Ted Thomas, a former state legislator and former budget director for Mike Huckabee, might become Asa Hutchinson's Department of Finance Administration director. I've written that raises some questions. He's a partisan political consultant. He's always been very secretive. He hadn't had nearly the public relations kind of profile that Richard Weiss, the very successful DF&A director, had. I think there are things that suggest he's not a great choice for this job, but he was very close to Asa Hutchinson. He may get it anyway. How much access he allows to the public will be a critical question. I've written a further story today about a huge shakeup at the Secretary of State's office in which they've fired or forced the resignation of five people, maybe six. Difficult working conditions there. It's still not really clear why this is. One employee thinks it's clearly because one of the others had a relative who did a campaign ad for a Democrat, and that they're just finally getting rid of the last people that they don't think are true blue Republicans. Although people who cut the grass and mop the floor and do other chores around the Capitol are not particularly political operators. The most interesting part of this story is the news that top officials of the Secretary of State's office are reported by these employees to tap into the security cameras that are placed all over the Capitol, and they use them from home to monitor the activities, whereabouts, and goings-on of employees. This may be legal, but it certainly smacks of Big Brother. Finally, the Little Rock Fraternal Order of Police has criticized Mayor Mark Stodola, says he should resign as president of the Arkansas Municipal League. They see a conflict of interest in the fact that he's president of the league and has been pushing for the Municipal League to take over the city employee insurance plan, which happened about a week ago. There's no financial benefit to Mark Stodola in being president of the Municipal League, but he has his eyes set, I'm told, on national office of the Municipal League. He'll get help from the Municipal League here to do it. There's some political ramifications of this. Some thought that Mark Stodola might take his leftover mayoral campaign kitty, which is substantial, and use it perhaps to plot ways to run for a broader office in Arkansas in 2016, maybe even U.S. Senate. The notion of a Democrat running for statewide office in Arkansas right now seems in the realm of fantasy land, but who knows? I'm Max Brantley. That's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow.